Being prepared to fight fires and knowing how to minimize fire hazards are the most effective means of promoting fire safety. Preparedness means you are ready to take action should a hazardous event occur. Minimizing potential fire hazards means taking precautionary steps when working with or near flammable materials to prevent their accidental ignition. During this topic, you will examine preparedness and risk mitigation steps. After completing this topic, you will be able to relate the many steps you can take to promote fire safety at your operation. Preparedness is all about being ready to respond to an event should it occur. In fire safety terms, it requires an awareness of potential risks and the activities you may be called upon to perform. An important aspect of fire safety preparedness is your ability to quickly respond to fires or potential fire hazards. Portable fire extinguishers must be available at all fuel farms and fixed refueling locations, on all aircraft refuelers and aircraft servicing carts, and inside hangars and office facilities as required by your airport fire safety requirements. Every extinguisher location must be clearly marked with letters at least 2 inches high, shall be kept clear of ice and snow, and must be readily accessible as needed. The type of extinguisher and its capacity must be matched to the potential risk. Fuel farms and fixed refueling locations must be equipped with portable fire extinguishers of a type and capacity based on the open hose discharge capacity of the particular facility. The open hose discharge capacity is the rate at which fuel will flow from a ruptured fuel hose or component. If the open hose discharge capacity of your fuel system is 200 gallons per minute, or GPM, the facility must be equipped with at least one wheeled extinguisher having a rating of not less than 80 BC and a minimum capacity of 125 pounds of dry chemical.
Mobile refuelers shall have at least 2 80 BC rated fire extinguishers, one mounted on each side of the refueler and operational at all times. Hydrant-style service vehicles shall have one extinguisher with a minimum rating of 80 BC. Refueling cabinets must also be equipped with at least one 80 BC dry chemical extinguisher.
Outdoor extinguishers must be kept free of ice and snow, and their quick-release mountings, when applicable, must be operational. All extinguishers must be fully serviced and inspected on a regular basis. Be proactive in extinguisher preparedness. Correct any deficiencies you encounter, and notify your supervisor if you notice extinguishers that are faulty or have expired inspection tags. Another aspect of preparedness is knowing how to stop the flow of fuel from mobile refuelers, fuel cabinets, and fuel farms if a spill or other hazardous condition should arise. Mobile refuelers, fuel cabinets, and fuel farms are equipped with an emergency fuel shutoff, capable of overriding all other fuel controls and stopping all fuel flow with one physical movement. Emergency fuel shutoff controls should be clearly marked with bold lettering of at least 2 inches high and indicate push or pull as applicable. Another aspect of preparedness is knowing how to stop the flow of fuel from mobile refuelers, fuel cabinets, and fuel farms if a spill or other hazardous condition should arise. Mobile refuelers, fuel cabinets, and fuel farms are equipped with an emergency fuel shutoff, capable of overriding all other fuel controls and stopping all fuel flow with one physical movement. Emergency fuel shutoff controls should be clearly marked with bold lettering of at least 2 inches high and indicate push or pull as applicable. Preparedness requires that you verify proper operation of emergency shutoff valves prior to fueling operations. Knowledge of deadman shutoff controls is also required for preparedness of certain refueler activities and fuel storage facility fuel transfers. A deadman shutoff control is used by the operator of a refueler or fuel storage facility and is a handheld unit that is spring-loaded into the off position. As the operator grips the dead man, the connection closes and allows fuel to flow. The dead man shutoff will automatically stop the flow of fuel if the operator's grip is released for any reason, such as inattentiveness or incapacitation. Dead man shutoff controls must be used during single-point refueling and during bottom loading of a refueler at the fuel storage facility. The flow control valve or grip on an overwing nozzle is considered a dead man. Jamming or otherwise fixing the dead man control into the on position with a device other than the operator's hand is strictly prohibited. Defeating the fail-safe purpose of the dead man control is a strict violation of safety procedures. Preparedness includes placards and identification markings to assist in an emergency, such as a fire or fuel spill. All fuel service vehicles are required
to display signage viewable from all sides of the vehicle,
with the type of product being transported.
The U.S. Department of Transportation and United Nations have established a series of identification numbers for specific types of fuel. Avgas is 1203, and Jet A is 1863.
If an emergency, such as a fire or fuel spill, occurs, the identification of the fuel involved will ensure that the contents are easily recognizable and will enable emergency personnel to decide how to handle the situation.
In accordance with the Energy Institute standard,
specifications for placarding of fuel storage facilities and equipment should include Avgas 100 low lead, identified by white letters on a red background next to a single blue band, and Jet A, identified by white letters on a black background next to a single black band. Preparedness is all about being ready to react when a hazardous situation arises. In the next section, we'll look at steps you can take to minimize potential risks and greatly reduce the likelihood that you will need to exercise preparedness skills. In an ideal world, it is hoped that you will never have to use the fire safety skills that you have learned thus far. The best way to make this happen is to work diligently to minimize the many potential fire risks that exist at your operation. In this section, we will examine fire risks that exist during different phases of fuel handling, with emphasis on equipment condition, static electricity, and potential ignition sources. Did you know that the clothing you wear can pose a fire risk during fueling operations? Clothing made of silk, polyester, wool, or nylon and wool blends are good generators of static electricity and should not be worn. Clothing made of 100% cotton is generally considered the safest when handling fuels. Shoes that provide support made of leather with rubber soles and safety toes are the safest footwear for refueling operations. Shoes or boots with steel taps or screws should not be worn. These shoe features can generate sparks when they come into contact with paved ramp surfaces. And do not wear regular tennis shoes. Unless they are designed with safety toes, they do not provide protection if a refueling nozzle or tow bar falls on your foot.
In addition to your clothing, you should not carry any objects that could pose a fire risk. These include smoking materials, electronic cigarettes, and communication equipment. Only approved explosion-proof communication devices are allowed within 10 feet of aircraft fill points or vent systems.
Do not continue to wear clothing that has become saturated with fuel. Beyond the skin irritation that contact with fuel can cause, fuel on clothing is an extreme fire hazard. If you spill fuel on your clothes, remove the contaminated clothing immediately or as quickly as practical. Be especially cautious of ignition sources during removal. Exposure to heaters, matches, or cigarettes being used by other personnel presents a very real personal hazard. Wash exposed areas of the skin with plenty of soap and water. Aviation fuels remove the natural oils from the skin and can cause skin irritation. Do not assume that once the fuel has evaporated that the clothing is fire safe. Clothing that has been exposed to fuel remains highly flammable, even when the fuel itself has evaporated. Although this section deals with potential fire risks, we must also warn you about carrying loose items in shirt pockets as a safety precaution. Loose items in shirt pockets can easily fall into aircraft fuel tanks or refueler tanks, causing contamination of the fuel and severe damage to filters and pump systems. Leave pens and other items in the refueler.